The basement, where nerdiness thrives, and grown men rant about toys.
What up, Dick Lickers?
Oh, you beat me to it. Motherfucker. That's just our new intro now. You guys are all the dick lickers.
Yeah. No longer are y'all the basement dwellers. You are now the Dick Lickers.
Well, welcome back to Fresh from the Basement, everybody. We are trucking on through our Rob Zombie retrospective. We're out of the Halloween woods now. First off, before we even get started, just wanted to make a side note that I'm feeling a little under the weather today, so just bear with me with that. My voice might be a little coffee sneezy, but aside from that, I'm doing pretty good. And we're talking about one of my favorites, honestly, one that I feel is highly underrated.
Yeah, no one ever talks about it, and I like it a lot, but I'm never thinking about it.
Yeah, it's very much like swept under the rug compared to Rob Zombie's filmography, like the rest of it. And I think it's because it is a standout in the sense that it's an animated movie, and it's not an animated movie by like any tentpole studio that typically makes money. It's definitely not a DreamWorks or a Disney. It's not, anything like that. It started well back in 2006 post Devil's Rejects, but then Rob took the offer to do the Halloween movies. Um, but it's based on a comic
Make
by him.
this.
I never read the comic. I know the art style is completely different. I'm only familiar with the movie, and the only reason I know the movie is because of Monster Madness when James Rolfe was talking about fucking Phantom Creeps. He's a big Rob Zombie fan, so he threw that in there, that Murray the robot. And just the robot that Rob Zombie uses in his stage show is from the Phantom Creeps. But when I saw a screenshot from El Superbeasto, I knew the song Super Beast, but I was like, I gotta check this one out.
Yeah, the first time I ever heard about this is in the lyric book of Rob Zombie's Educated Horses. There's a little card in there. I still have that card that is that classic picture poster that of the X-ray and the little Band-Aid over the dick.
Yeah, the one that I used on our Facebook page.
Yeah, and it said something like soon to be a movie or coming soon, something like that. And then I kind of just forgot about it for a long time. I actually didn't see this for the first time until roughly 10 years ago when me, Zach, and Josh first did our little Rob Zombie retro on Audio Theory.
The
And
Robothon.
yeah,
I was
and
just watching the Mick Garris interview with Rob Zombie, and I actually didn't really know a lot about the production of this movie. It's one that I've seen a lot, and it's definitely high on my Rob Zombie list, but not one that I knew a lot production wise. And it
yeah.
started super low budget, but then because nobody was really paying attention, Rob said, like as the years went on, the budget just kept growing and growing. Rob didn't really want to leave it alone. And he might have been exaggerating, but I think it got up to like 8 million for this small feature. And even though this is post Halloween, that's one of the reasons why I like this movie is that it's like after all that studio strife, he was able to just unleash like rapid, like unfiltered imagination. There was still a little bit of studio strife with this one where the production kept switching hands. It was kind of an on and off thing, and not nearly as bad as what he dealt with the Weinsteins, but it was still kind of like a start stop. He described it as House of a Thousand Corpses, but animation wise, which I found interesting.
Ah, damn. And I'm gonna say I will say that I like the animation style because it's very, very similar to Ren and Stimpy or SpongeBob, and even like Drawn Together from that old Comedy Central cartoon.
For sure.
But at the same time, I'm like disappointed because I wish it was in Rob Zombie's art style because he's got such a cool art style that he used to draw in all the White Zombie stuff, and the little animation sequence that he did on the Beavis and Butthead movie. I would like a animated Rob Zombie movie using his art style.
Mm-hmm.
But I do appreciate, because I do like this because it reminds me, especially like the gross close-ups and stuff that you always got in SpongeBob and Ren and Stimpy and all that.
Oh, absolutely. And what's it called? That was something that I kept going back and forth with as well. That when you hear an animated Rob Zombie movie, you would expect it to be in his art style. And I'm kind of with you that it would be cool to see something more full featured in his art style. But he expanded on that in the Mick Garris interview where they were talking about him painting, which sort of goes along with his art style, of course. And he says that's like the one thing that doesn't have like money behind it, or it's still like his one creative outlet where it's not, on demand. You know what I mean? So I do kind of respect him as an artist for um, intentionally going with a different art style. And it's funny that you mentioned Ren and Stimpy because although John Kay didn't have anything to do with the production of this movie, a lot of the animators were former Ren and Stimpy animators. So there's a connection there.
So, like we always do, we ask you guys what you think of the movie. And did you get anything?
I did see that on the Speaker Brains. Hold on one second. Let me pull this up. Speaker Brains. Da, 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 da. Oh, so this is actually the one that you posted. We had Jesse Radiata. I hope I'm not fucking butchering that name.
That's actually my sister, Jessica Jones, but I guess on Facebook she's Jesse Radiata. I don't know.
Well, welcome to the show. And
she
said,
apparently, I guess she lives not too far from you. She had moved to somewhere upstate New York a couple of years ago.
Nice. Yeah, no, I'm from Long Island. We were actually just talking about this before because we got the dispensaries open up along here, which is pretty sweet. But Sister Jones on the show saying, I've never heard of this, but my only thought is the art style is really ... something. And that made me laugh out loud because, yeah, it's not a perfect art style, but it definitely kind of catches your eye. There's almost, of course, like you said, the Ren and Stimpy SpongeBob comparison, but also kind of like an old-timey, like Betty Boopish nature to the female character.
There is a lot of that thrown in. But we also got a Justin Brown that says, great movie. So nothing profound. Nothing.
Which I agree. Great movie.
Yeah. Great movie. And this one, it's going to be kind of hard to talk about because, like I said, there's nothing really profound to dig out of this. It's not a very deep movie. It really has nothing to say. It's just being dirty. It's just being fun. It's a turn off your brain. And it's
hangout movie.
Yeah, just an hour and 20 minutes of straight silliness and dirtiness. But there are some things on it that I fucking love the shit out of, which definitely the original songs done by Chris Hardwick and God, who's the other guy? Something Furman. They do the band Hard and Firm.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that because we talked about this with House of a Thousand Corpses. That was a Rob Zombie movie that had Rob Zombie music in it. It was his first movie, so you can kind of see him like, oh, I got to, people still know me for the music, but he distanced himself from it further along in his career. So I wanted to ask you about the Hard and Firm soundtrack, what you thought of it, because um, little did we know this movie's kind of a musical.
Right, in a way, in a slight little way. Um, and the songs are really great because they're just there to tell you what's going on for the most part. Like when we wind up going through it, she jumped the fucking train, so uh again, like the songs aren't doing, there's nothing, don't expect this to be a podcast episode where we're like picking it apart and finding profound things to say about it, because it's going to be hard. It's going to be
There's
hard to talk about, really.
dissecting the downward spiral of Laurie Strode in this one. Like I said, after the conundrum of making those two Halloween movies, I feel like this really was just like kind of his creative exorcism, where he's like, fuck it, I'm going to do whatever I want. I don't care how dirty, how offensive, which honestly, for as much uh, sexual content as there is in this movie, it's not as bad as I think some people try to make it out to be. I think upon first glance it looks very gratuitous, but I think what keeps this from being just some smut is that there's genuine like love put into just the design, the references, the haunted world, you know what I mean? It is
Yeah,
definitely, like you said, a turn off your brain, um, kind of a dick fart movie, but
yeah,
something with a little more. I would attribute it more on like kind of a Jay and Silent Bob scale of that, where it's like, yes, it is dumb humor, but there's like an effort put into it. There's some kind of like fandom, geekiness, like there's a almost Willy Wonka pure imagination to it.
yeah. And another, the animation style reminds me of like that Jay and Silent Bob groovy cartoon movie shit.
Oh yeah, yeah. I gotta rewatch
Yeah,
that one.
yeah. I've never seen it.
Yeah, it was all right. Like, I'm not gonna rave about it, but it is definitely worth the rewatch. I just remember a lot of original songs by MC Chris,
Huh.
so that was pretty cool.
So the movie starts off. I had to ask you about this because there's a thing about old old timey movies and movie actors and movie characters that over the past 100 years or more they have been referenced in Looney Tune, any sort of cartoon over the past 100 years. These characters, scenes, and actors have been referenced where it's almost to a point where certain characters because they pop up on Looney Tune shorts.
Right, they
And
blend together through
yeah,
the.
and you never, and a lot of times you don't know where that original, where that reference originated. And so I had to ask you at the very beginning because I was like, I know this about the guy coming out behind the curtains and warning the theater about the movie they're about to see. And I was like, I know this from something, but what the fuck? Yeah, and you said it was from Frankenstein.
Yes,
And I was
sir.
like, yeah, yeah, Frankenstein. So I remember that, but it's been a long time since I've seen it. And then there's also, for it wasn't until after I first saw this movie where the first time where I was like, God damn it, there's the bug-eyed fucking dude talking like, yes, yeah. And I'm like, who is this referencing? I've seen this a million times in Looney Tunes growing up and shit. And, I find out it's Peter Lorre. Like, okay, all right. So,
Right, he's definitely one that got characterized a lot in cartoons.
like
Uh,
all the time. Anytime it was a Halloween thing or a monster thing, they always had a cartoon caricature of him.
Sometimes they do him dirty too. Like sometimes they really make him bug out. It's like, goddamn.
Yeah, he'll be
But I
he'll,
do
he'll be
really
like
love
a
the opening.
fish.
I do really love Mr. Rob Zombie would like to warn you. It may shock you, thrill you. Because I really loved that opening in Frankenstein, just because in all its corny glory, you know what I mean? This is now self-aware about it, whereas back then, this was some serious shit. Like, they had to have a guy come out and be like, if you have a heart
Yeah,
condition, you may
yeah.
get your money
Very
back.
much like the remember, just tell yourself it's only a movie. It's
Yeah.
only a movie.
And then I just loved the way, like, they recreated the whole opening where it's one thing just to do the music and the black and white and just that guy in front of the stage alone, but they recreated the credits with designs with Dr. Satan and
Yeah,
El.
I thought the opening to this movie was great. The throwback to early horror, and to tell you the truth, yeah, that's another. I'm like, damn, I wish the whole movie was kind of in this style too.
Yeah, maybe a black and white edit where there's a little bit of grit over the camera. But it's only like one slice of this huge El Superbeasto pie because eventually when we get to like Susie X and stuff like that, there's spy exploitation. He kind of just threw everything he loved into the pot and stirred it.
Yeah. So what happens here? We first see this building, and there's so much like blink and you miss it fucking shit about the big time movie casting.
Well, yeah, because we have a whole uh like line of caricatures of different actresses, but even before that, we have Ken Foree playing a cat, and
Yeah,
he's the production assistant.
yeah. And so Tom Papa, comedian Tom Papa, who sadly I've never seen his stand up, so I really don't know what kind of stuff he does, but he voices Superbeasto, and he I guess he's doing a casting call for a porno, and it is kind of funny. He's like, "Yeah, we're working on a porno. I mean, we're working on a da 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 whatever movie."
An art house film.
Yeah, that's what it was, an art house film.
And I'm
And
almost thinking like this scene is Rob Zombie. Like, if we are going to dig a little deep into this, I feel like this is him kind of like digging at, like, this is how the critics think Rob Zombie acts. You know what I mean? I'm making a gratuitous art house film. You know what I mean?
hell
And I
yeah.
kind of like that Tom Papa, instead of going for like a stereotypical luchador voice, there's almost like a Toxic Avenger quality to him where there's kind of this superhero-ish, properness to
He
him.
really talks kind of like this.
And it adds to that sliminess where he's being the more self-centered, like Beasto World Enterprises. Here, fine. Take my
Yeah,
autograph.
yeah.
Definitely as
Nobody
we
wants his
hear,
autograph.
nobody wants it. Motherfucker, I don't want this. um
So, but I like this part. Who in the fuck? Because he's like, yeah, I'm not trying. I'm not going for the prettiest, big titty girl. And who the fuck is this old lady? Talking about, yes, in 1910, I was da 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 da. Who is she supposed to be?
Oh Jesus Christ! Um, off the bat,
'Cause-
like, 'cause I'm trying to remember. There's a lot of people who go by. I feel like it's either Barbara Streisand or like a Meryl Streep type.
Yeah, because they do a Barbara Streisand bit. She's got the giant nose. Then it cuts to Courtney Love. Like, who do I have to fuck next?
There's like a Janine Garofalo in there who's kind
Yeah,
of
little
dog.
Janine Garofalo. Fucking A, dude.
It cuts to like a beaver on the floor for a second. I was like, "What the fuck is that?"
Oh my God.
I'm assuming that was Winona's Big Brown Beaver. A
Probably
little
so.
throwback to Primus. I'm looking for a '90s band for this movie. Rob Zombie, yes.
And so what the fuck happens next? Like, dude, this is gonna be a hard one for me, man, because it's like it's just a bunch of shit
It's
put
vignettes. Yeah,
together.
it's kind of like Seth MacFarlane's cavalcade of cartoon comedy. Like, it's not even something that made it onto TV. It was like this direct to video. Just let's play around with this. So there is a lot of cutaway gags, almost like a Family Guy, but they end up casting this one girl who has no acting talent, but she can do like 50 crunches, and they're
Yeah,
like,
yeah. It was like, yeah,
"You
like
have
300
fun.
crunches
You're hired."
plus something.
And they're making big spicy macho meatball man.
Yeah, he's like line. You're like, yeah, it's don't you want the hot, spicy sauce for the meatball? And he's like, okay, I got it.
Oh, it
And
was still rolling, mate.
yeah, he's pouring sauce on the lady and starts grating cheese on her.
Yeah, it's pretty fucked up. But then what's it called? The other girl comes in, start speaking broken Italian, and he's like, shut up in your face.
Yeah, yeah, shut up in your face. Oh man.
So eventually it cuts to his fucking hairy ass, his boiled hairy ass fucking the girl on the table
Yeah,
with,
your first big gross Ren and Stimpy shot.
oh, with the toe, yeah. Oh my God. And then all of a sudden, the moon has a face in it, and the girl grows a fucking pentagram on her fucking
Oh
forehead.
yeah, they both look at the moon, and one turns into a werewolf, and the other turns into like this Medusa bitch.
Yeah, it's kind of
Organ.
like From Dusk Till Dawn, like this snake, like, yeah, Medusa.
A damn Medusa bitch. Fucking Gorgon. So like, yeah, he does a little silver thing, stabs the one werewolf, and this is funny though. Like he holds the other lady up to the fan, and the fan's just chopping all the snake heads off.
Yeah, that was really fun. And then the blood gets all over the camera. What was once a porno now becomes a horror film. But it
Yeah,
goes
yeah,
to introduce his more self-centered nature. He wipes off the fucking blood and is like, did that look good on camera?
yeah.
Please tell me that was good for focus.
And God, so what happens now?
Well, that was just the film. That was probably the easiest film shoot in the world, honestly. They filmed one scene, people died, and they're like, all right, that's a wrap. Fucking
Yep.
leave your paperwork before you leave.
Yeah, craft services are over there.
Get your asses a crack-a-lackin'.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good throwaway lines in this. Um, but yeah, that was it. That was the end of the film shoot. And I love that there's also like it's cartoon logic. Fucking Beasto gets his ass bitten by a werewolf. We don't have to worry about him turning later. He's good.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
He's got
yeah.
the he's ready for the titty bar.
Yeah, he heads to the titty bar,
One of my
and this,
favorite gags is so he's leaving. Number one, he stuffs the cat in his pants. Motherfucker,
yeah,
this
yeah, he's
fucking
like, he's like, da 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 check, obscene bulge in the lower region, check a doodle doo, and he just stuffs the cat in his pants.
And then one line that lives rent free in my head, like I always reference this, is he passes by a standee and he's like, a standee of himself, mind you. And he's like, later, G. He high fives him. The standee goes, keep it real, player.
Yeah.
I love that shit. And then there's a fucking bat exterminator at the door. And this is,
Yeah,
you
is
were
that
mentioning,
Harlem Williams?
I think so.
It sounds like Harlan Williams to me.
I feel like I saw his name in the credits.
I'm scrolling through this.
I could be wrong, though, Basement
Yeah,
Dwellers.
there he is. Yep,
Hey,
Gerald Exterminator,
yeah,
Harlan Williams.
because I actually paid attention to the credits this time around because there's so many after credits things, and then you also have the elevator guy. So I was actually like going down the line. And
Yeah, like
as much as I've rewatched this movie, there is a lot of people in this movie that I didn't realize, like
you
Cassandra
knew
Peterson.
Rob Paulson was gonna be in this shit. You can hear his normal voices through a lot of characters.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of animated like what's it called, mainstays there's Rob Paulson in this, there's Tom Kenny, there's D. Bradley Baker, John DiMaggio. So there's a lot of
We're
animated
only missing
alumni.
Jim Cummings.
Yup, yup. But then we also have people like Cassandra Peterson, Elvira, who's credited as a character named Amber. So I'm assuming she's just one of the girls.
Yeah, and I'm just like, I'm looking through this cast, and I'm like, who the fuck are most of these characters?
Yeah, like Clint Howard's in this as like
Yeah,
Joe Cthulhu.
yeah. I'm like, who the fuck is Joe Cthulhu? I've never heard the name even said in this movie.
Is that supposed to be
Um,
like the xenomorph when he's like, I don't want to live?
yeah. So on his way to the titty bar, is that when we get the El Superbeasto theme song? They do
Yeah.
this twice in the movie where they look at the camera and he's like, "Hey, start my theme song,"
Like,
and so we get like our first Hard and Firm track, El Superbeasto, which is a rad song. I wish, Hard and Firm actually only have one album that came out a couple years before this movie, and it's the only album they ever did. And I've always wished that they would release a soundtrack for this movie with all the Hard and Firm songs because they're fucking hilarious.
they really are good. And I think, oh, it's a hard call, but the El Superbeasto theme song might be my favorite just because I like the whole fast paced, left upon a darkened stair, a baby thick with body hair.
Yeah.
The theme song, the lyrics are fucking ridiculous. Assholes better watch your ass. Here comes a mangler with a mask.
Yeah.
You're right. Yeah, Susie later they give their backstory. So these first two song numbers are necessary to the quote unquote plot because we see that Beasto was adopted. He was left upon a staircase to the X family,
Yeah,
and
and it's just thrown. It's so quick.
just to get it out of the way, just
Yeah,
because we have so much more to cover. But he basically just excelled through high school, was wrestling, and then became a heavyweight champion slash movie star slash just superhero savior of the world.
yeah, the haunted world.
Yeah, because he's still a self-centered prick because he had a knack for pounding booze and pounding sluts.
Yeah. So is this when we get fucking Michael Myers crossing the street?
Dude, this is so hilarious. The Mad Hatter Michael. This is just Rob Zombie saying, I'm done. I don't have to worry about him anymore. Yes, I'm making him talk. This is what I think of him.
Yeah, he runs him over and he's just stuck on the windshield. He's trying to wipe him with the wipers, and
He looks
it's a
so
funny ass little
disgusted.
gag.
When I get my hands on you, oh, wipers. Woohoo!
Damn.
Yeah, I love that gag.
So he gets to the titty bar, I guess, and there's a lot. There are so many quick ass reference here. Like he sits down and he says, "Hey, how about a little bit of the dog hair of the dog that bit me, Lloyd? And get it from The Shining." And then there it is, Jack Nicholson fucking talking shit.
Hilarious. A fucking comedian. That's another line that I bust out every once in a while. Because that was a good one. And even the fucking even the bartender's like, I don't have time for your tired 80s references, man. But it's like, oh, just you wait. We still have an hour and 17 minutes, buddy.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. This movie is mercifully short.
Yeah,
Um,
I knew it had to be a short stay just because it would lose its luster if it was any longer. And I think
Yeah,
for some
there
people,
are points. There are points when the pacing does get to me. I'm just like, oh my god.
yeah, there's a bit like right before the fucking rats come out of the uncle's ass where it starts to drag a little bit. And you even notice that it's like they hadn't done a musical number in a while either. So even in an
Yeah,
hour and 17 minutes, there is a slow point. I know what you're talking about.
yeah, and even at the end, it's like the movie doesn't know when to end. Because at the same time, the movie's ending, and I'm like, where's the Banjo and Sullivan bit? Like, I always remember this Banjo and Sullivan bit, and then like, oh, here it is. Oh yeah, yeah, because the movie just doesn't remember where it ended.
Yeah, there's like three endings and after credit bits, and then what's it called? I think it's because the opening half, like the first act of this movie, is so fast paced with the
Yeah.
musical numbers and the gags. It's almost like they kind of blew their load early. If I could use a metaphor that would fit the tone of this
Yeah,
movie.
leave it to El Superbeasto to blow his load too early.
Right, right. And also there's just a plethora of cameos in this bar that like this is what reminds me of Billy and Mandy, that there's similar humor in that where these environments with so many characters from movies and other horror movies, it's crazy. You got Christopher Lee in there. You got
Yeah,
Ace getting a rack thrown at him.
yeah. There's the alien, the chest burster coming out.
Um who else do we got? There's the Bride of Frankenstein. And
Yeah,
then
yeah,
later
yeah.
when they're at the line outside, there's even a lot more. But he goes to the bar and like you said, he does the reference. Um Is this where he gets the call from Susie?
I think so. It's
Speaking of
so
what I was
hard.
just saying about the 80s references, his fucking cell phone
Yeah.
ringtone is
So Mr. Roboto, domo domo.
sick. And Susie is going after the head of Hitler.
Yeah, which like they did zombie Nazis in this thing like right before zombie Nazis like got way played out and shit.
Right, like right before it became like every Call of Duty game and the Dead
Yeah.
Space movie. And it's the closest thing to Werewolf Women of the SS we have in actual movie form, aside
Yeah.
from Grindhouse. So I bring it up every podcast during this retrospective. I won't let it go. Rob, come on, man. You owe us some Werewolf Women
Got
of the SS.
Thanksgiving. Go ahead and give it to us.
We
Uh,
want it. We're there for it.
Hell, there was a couple years ago when it was before he did 31. It was several years ago when his album Electric Kool-Aid, it's Electric Witch, Acid Warlock, whatever the fuck. Uh, when that album came out, he had made a big old post on Facebook saying that that was going to be his next movie. And then I don't know if that is technically what happened or if, because like he made music videos for just about the whole album. And I don't know if he's referring to just all the music videos or if that was going to be a movie. I don't know. But yeah, 31 happened after that. And no other words.
Yeah, come on, Rob. I'm sure it's something that he really does want to make because he's mentioned other movies too. Like I said, I was just right before we start recording watching
Yeah,
the.
they almost had him do a Crow sequel. They almost had him do a remake for The Blob.
That would have been interesting.
Yeah, not really, because apparently the script was like The Blob sort of isn't like The Blob. It kind of possesses people and
What?
a serial killer
Oh,
thing. Yeah. The Crow idea was interesting. That was like gonna be in the future and shit. But they had him tied to the Crow long before he had done House of a Thousand Corpses too, though. So
yeah, that seems like something that maybe producers were thinking this would be a nice way to get your foot in the door with film because The Crow is very much like this dark, gothic
yeah,
superhero. I'm
and
kind of glad though that he was able to go like again aside from the Halloween movies and monsters in a more uh original direction.
yeah. Then he also directed an episode of CSI. I've never seen it because I'm not into cop procedural shows, but from the sound of it, said he had a horrible experience filming the episode. They wouldn't let him do anything he wanted to do, and it just felt like a by the numbers CSI episode, just with Sherry Moon and Sid Haig.
Yeah, I was about to say that like when it comes to shows like that, they really are just by the numbers. They have a formula each
Yeah, I was
episode.
like, there's no reason Rob Zombie should have directed an episode of CSI.
I'm pretty sure Tarantino did as well. If not CSI, like an NCIS or something like that. Um, he's also had his
Yeah.
hands on.
And with Rob, it was either an NCIS or a CSI. It was one of them damn shows that was on at the same time.
It just seems so odd. Like it's cool, like it's a little tidbit you could get at like a bar trivia night. Like who directed like an episode of CSI? Oh, Rob Zombie. Interesting. But yeah, it kind of puts you in a box those kind of shows because it's like you said, the procedural. Each episode, they're gonna go through the procedure. Some of them are good, but yeah, I could see Rob being very frustrated with something like that.
Yeah.
It's no El Superbeasto.
Yeah. So she's after the Hitler's head, and the Nazi zombies are chasing her. Murray, her robot car guy, is obsessed with her.
Yeah,
Um,
he's my favorite character because even though like most of the characters in this movie are either mean-spirited or because it's kind of a movie where the bully is the main character.
yeah.
Uh, Murray's my favorite character in a sense where he still has kind of like an innocence to him. He's awkward. He's nervous all the time. Even though he's this big badass robot who could kick ass, like you're right, he's obsessed with Susie. And there's several scenes in this movie where Susie's just like blatantly teasing him, and you're like, oh, why you got to do this to him? She's like, I'm glad you can't feel emotions or anything like that. I'm like, this dude's sweating right in front of you.
Yeah. Like, you're glad you don't have blood that will rush down to a vital organ and throb and pulse. And
He's voiced by Brian Posehn, who
yeah, which is like the most non-Brian Posehn voice. You know what I mean?
I love it. It's just kind of voice cracky, almost like the clerk from The Simpsons, you know?
It reminds me of God, hell, I think Brian Posehn might have been on this show too. It reminds me of almost like the guy on 3 South. It was an MTV cartoon in the early 2000s. And he was like, hey, that's my favorite ladle.
Just a standout voice, like, we got to get going, Murray. Okay. Okay.
But I love the little song, little hard and firm song, because it's like got these Beatle vibes.
Yes, definitely kind of like a 60s sing-along.
With my day now.
And then we also have like this James Bond-esque like theme song for Susie. What the fuck's up with your eye? Well, nobody cares.
Yeah, dude, and it was so funny. It's like I feel like they made the movie, and then Hard and Firm just kind of sat there and watched parts of the movie, and just they just sang what the fuck was they were singing.
Where you running off with Hitler's head?
Just blew a lot of zombies up, but some of them are still there. And oh man, you took this left or whatever, and then you jump a fucking train.
It's almost it's Trey Parker and Matt Stone-esque. It's very much like who are the guys who did Clone High? Lord and Miller. They do a lot of gags like that in Clone High with the makeover montage and stuff like that. And then going back to Trey Parker and Matt Stone, there's literally the montage song.
The one that really hits a Matt and Trey vibe is during the cat fight song.
Oh, for sure.
The motherfucker's like, it's okay to jerk off to cartoons. The Japanese do it every day. So put one down for the USA.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite cutaway ones. It's definitely the most gratuitous scene in the movie where the plot is just thrown out the window, but you also have country like skibbity doo. It's very old school cartoony.
Yeah, so she's got Hitler's head.
Yeah, and they're running off. Like we said, we just did this whole montage of her jumping the train.
And is this like, hell, this is probably, and then too, because like how Tom Papa's like, hey, how about play my theme song? She's like, what's a girl got to do to get a theme song around here?
Yeah, exactly. And it shows her when she was a little kid, even when she was on her tricycle, she was running over the toes of like Dracula and the Wolfman. Like she was always a monster killer in her blood. And then while Superbeasto was like the wrestling champ in high school, she was the cheerleader.
Yeah, they're like both the most popular people at the school.
And then we keep cutting back to the bar as well because El Superbeasto's watching his own commercial on TV, which is hard.
Another Rob Zombie thing. Very full of himself, local celebrity character watching themselves on TV.
Keeping them tropes going. And then, what's it called? It may cause penis shrinkage, splitting headache, and it literally shows guys like head splitting open.
Yeah.
Like there's crazy visual gags all over the place. But yeah, Susie was calling El Superbeasto because he was supposed to be helping her with Hitler's head, but he's just like, "Oh, Susie, I'm going through a tunnel."
Yeah, it pushes a bunch of buttons on his phone.
And then we have the first appearance of Tom Kenny when he plays a random werewolf. Like, he's sniffing the fucking Bride of Frankenstein's ass, and then fucking El Superbeasto picks him up, and he's like, "Go blow yourself, has-been."
Yeah, and he fucking beats the shit out of him. It's fucking hilarious, man. Beats the shit out of him. And they're like, "Oh no, he's okay because only silver hurts a werewolf." And he looks at his fist, and he's got this silver brass knuckles on there, and it does this. They do this a few times where it cuts to like a
Almost like a QVC, like,
shit channel, shopping channel network kind of shit.
yeah, like a QVC, like, network, brass knuckles. And he's with his fucking brain hanging out. I love Tom Kenny sitting there. "Oh, not the silver. It had to be the silver." Fucking Jack Nicholson sitting there like, "Oh, he's not looking too good."
Yeah,
Oh my God, Beasto, you killed him. I also don't know why the term fuckface is so funny to me. He's like, "I gotta smash me some fuckface."
Yeah, gotta smash me some fuckface. What so is this when Velvet Von Black shows up, or is that later?
Yeah, it's a little later because I think we get introduced to Dr. Satan around this time.
Yeah, which I'm not familiar with the comic, so I don't know if Dr. Satan is a character in the comic. I'm sure he'd have to be, but it's kind of weird because this is not the Dr. Satan we first see in the Rob Zombie universe.
Yeah, and it makes you wonder if, again, this is a cartoony world to begin with, so there's reason to believe it's its own separate universe where wherever it could happen. But if this is in the Rob Zombie universe connected with the other movies, is Steve Wachowski just another guy who heard the Dr. Satan legend and just really wanted to roll with it?
Yeah, because he wasn't a cool guy anyway, so he's like, man, if I can be Dr. Satan, that'd be really cool.
Dr. Satan. Yeah, it's. I want to ask Rob Zombie if I were ever to meet him, like what his motivation behind doing this complete 180 with this character is, and maybe it's because he just didn't know what to do with him, but still wanted to include him, like give him some closure.
Which is weird, because there's the deleted scene on Devil's Rejects where Dr. Satan kills Rosario Dawson, and now in this, Dr. Satan is trying to marry Rosario Dawson.
Right. He's changed his motivation. Miss Velvet Von Black. But he's sitting there taking a shit. He has the stolen corpse of fucking King Kong, now named Otto, with a smart screw in his head. This is the Tom Kenny character like that he mainly voices. He does a lot of side characters as well, but Otto's like a mainstay. He's like a henchman, and I love that he sees his name in the paper and he's like, "Steve Wachowski, it's Dr. Satan."
Yeah, he's like, I told all of them. I told the editors. I told the writers. I told them all.
Yeah, he does like this baby little star. I told the editors, and they don't believe me. And he's voiced by Paul Giamatti, which is fucking fantastic.
Yeah.
Definitely something that like he would be game for. So, like we said, a complete 180 from. I don't even remember what the original Doctor's name in House of a Thousand Corpses was, because I know Sid Haig does the whole backstory, and Dr. Satan was the nickname. But we have Tom Kenny playing Otto, and he does this very proper British voice for the corpse of King Kong. And while we're going through the movie, it kind of made me wonder like what Malcolm McDowell would have sounded like if he was voicing Otto. Oh, delicious, the ploughman's Lunchables. Because it almost sounds like that's what Tom Kenny's going for sometimes.
Yeah.
Just very proper.
So is this where we get the little the Schoolhouse of Rock bit?
Yeah, so during this opening act, like there's like a musical number every minute. And
just exposition-y music numbers.
Right, and this one's definitely one of the more creative ones where, like you said, they do like the demented schoolhouse rock where we saw that Dr. Satan was spying on women all over town because he's looking for the devil's mark. It's almost like something out of the Pick of Destiny where somebody's going to have a birthmark on their ass. But in this case, it actually is just 666. So that's what the song goes into. What he needs to do to become a completely transmogrified Dr. Satan with all the sudsy powers of hell.
All the sudsy powers of hell.
Meat pole is an adjective describing the kind of ride.
Yeah.
And I love just how it starts off. No, y'all better listen up because this is some serious shit.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's not even, Tom Kenny's voice completely switches to fucking Chris Hardwick, but who cares? And if all these things should coincide, y'all motherfuckers better run and hide. That's the most zombie lyric in the fucking, like, I can almost see that being put into one of his songs.
Y'all motherfuckers better run and hide.
If all this shit should coincide. Exactly.
Or he'd do it with his redneck voice he's been using lately, like, all you motherfuckers run and hide.
Yeah, exactly.
Go inside.
Because everybody's fucking in a UFO.
Vacation in Japan. Ooh, look out.
Big old jelly roll.
I love how Rob Zombie, the past several albums, he's been playing around with his voice.
Oh my god, yeah. And when I saw him live, like, since, it's always a big production with his concerts. He does the digital backgrounds now, and he was just talking to us, introducing the show, talking about Hellbilly Deluxe. But then all of a sudden, like, a CG UFO is like sucking up cows in the background, and now he starts bringing attention to it, and you know what song's coming up next. But I was like, oh shit, everybody's fucking in a UFO. He's like, wow, why is that UFO sucking up all those cows? Well, I'll tell you why.
So I guess Velvet Von Black shows up now?
Yeah, because Beasto's just kind of fucked off at this bar the whole time while all the shit is going around.
And I like this bit because you have the Peter Lorre guy get up there with a top hat, and he's like, Miss Velvet Von Black. Somebody throws a tomato at him, and they kick him off the stage. And then Velvet Von Black gets on there, and you get this great 1920s kind of song.
Yeah. This scene is just like I texted you earlier, like the Velvet Bomb Black scene, aka Unbridled Fetish Fuel, just because it's all over the place. She's fucking blowing into her thumb and making different shapes with her damn tits and ass. And
animal balloons.
Beasto's so hard he breaks a fucking bottle on his damn dick, and that's demented as he's chasing after her. And like you said, yeah, you have this 1920s kind of like pleasant show tune going on during the whole time. Velvet Von Black.
Velvet Von Black.
One of the funniest lyrics, she's the kind of girl you read in nudie magazines when you have a winner in your hand. Oh man.
Magazines. I like that old timey music like that. There was that old Turner Classic Movies channel used to have its own theme song that was like that. Fuck, it was like "What Dreams Come True" or some shit. Fuck.
Yeah, very vaudeville.
Yeah.
Goodbye, Tootsie, goodbye.
I liked the Offspring did a song like that as like the final track on Splinter, and it's like, when you're in prison, don't turn the other way.
Yeah, it's like a barbershop sort of tune. But yeah, so she's bouncing all over Beasto. People are laying their money down. There's other like lyrics here that are really stupid, like she could suck the gay right off of a picture of a unicorn.
Yeah.
Did I forget to
Yeah.
sing about her monstrous rack?
And this is where damn, I forgot what I was gonna say. This very much is like an R-rated version of the old Tex Avery cartoons where the hot senior lady comes out there and the wolf dude's just hooting and hollering.
Ooga. Yeah, very classic. Like in The Mask as well, like when the jaw drops. Very classic. And Dr. Satan's watching the whole thing and sees the mark on her ass.
Yeah.
He goes, Otto, I need you to get her for me. And he doesn't want to do it. He's liking his freedom, but he's like, I could always take that screw out of your head. You remember the jungle?
It
And that's
is hilarious. It cuts to all this stock footage of jungle shit.
with like monkey noises screaming. And I love that, like, he has to light up a cigar to calm himself down.
Yeah. And he's like, oh, no, not the jungle. And I like it because he runs out of there so primal, and then it cuts to him in this long elevator ride with the elevator guy, and it is so awkward. And
Which, yeah, has come to be another classic cartoon gag with the overly long elevator scene where nothing's happening.
yeah, and did you see the game last night?
Oh, yes, a real white knuckler.
Yeah, and then the elevator finally stops, and it's back to the hardcore primal running.
And so after that, Velvet Von Black is moving backstage and she's talking shit to all the girls. One of the funniest fucking things is I said sad ho, you sad ass deaf ho.
Yeah. You what? Yeah, I left a nickel on there for all you sad ass hoes. Wait, who you calling? What'd you say? It's like, I said sad ass hoe.
You
You
sad.
sad ass deaf hoe. She's fucking hilarious, dude.
And then she does like this screeching laugh all the time, which it sounds exactly like the way Trina sounds on the Brick House cover. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Like when she really starts cracking up and she's like, "Yeah!" I can't do it right now because of my voice.
Yeah.
Just very trashy, very, open, doesn't fucking mince words. Did I say I wanted a stanky ass ape in my room?
Yeah, smoking cigarettes and shit. She's backstage, and Otto busts in there to try and get her, and fucking Superbeasto. What the fuck? Superbeasto has some flowers and a beer hat, and he wants to go meet her.
He's such a dork. He's like, don't be nervous. You're a superstar. She's just a stripper. Meanwhile, it's like he's so clearly insecure. And like, again, I don't know what he thought the beer hat would do, but he comes in and is immediately like, should I close the door or should I join in?
Yeah, because it looks like she's fucking Otto,
And I love
and
how she's looking at him like, really? But then he leaves, and then what's it called? He starts hearing the commotion going on again, crashes the door back in again, and is like, "Take your damn paws off her, you damn dirty ape." And this was a line used in the trailer, just because it's one of the few animation frames where it's not completely, dirty. Fucking Otto turns around and he's like, "Well, that's a little derivative, wouldn't you think?"
yeah, and so he chases. He runs out of there, and the whole little running scene. He's just running through all the buildings, and you think that she's leaving a cigarette trail because she lights a cig up, takes a puff, throws it out. Lights a cigarette, takes a puff, throws it out, and you think, and then they show the cigarette butts lying on the ground, and you think that she's leaving a cigarette trail for Beasto to follow, but that goes absolutely nowhere.
Yeah, like he does ultimately end up following it, but I don't think she's doing it on purpose. She really is just like smoking them down to the nub, like immediately, and just fucking lighting it again. And they're fucking arguing with each other the whole time. I actually had to Google what a mink stole was because I was only familiar with the name of the actress. in the John Waters movies. But
Yeah.
then I actually found out what it was, because that was the line. He's like, mink stole, more like a stanky mole.
Yeah. And she's like, get your thumb out of my ass. My ass is not in your thumb. I mean, my
Well, why
thumb
not?
is not in your ass.
She goes, well, why not? And he's like, you are repulsive. Biatch, your shit should be on it. Hey, monkey, where's your meat grinder?
Yeah. Where's your organ grinder?
So fucking crazy.
He's like, I find that very hurtful.
Yeah, he's like, your language. Oh my god.
Yeah,
And
so
then,
this is where Susie and Beasto meet up. Right?
well, beforehand, he passes by the line out of the bar. Because
Yeah, he just cuts
he has
ahead.
to decide. He has to decide to go save the day, which, I mean, I get it. It's the eternal struggle of man, sex or buffalo wings.
Yeah. Because and this like goes on the entire time. Otto and Black are leaving there because he's like, yes, my plate of wings is up, and those are really good. They're spicy, but the blue cheese cools them off. So
And as he's leaving, this is another moment where I had to pause just to kind of like make sure I got everybody who was in the background, because he's leaving the fucking club to get his car and everyone's waiting to get in. And it looks like there's a Dr. Phibes, Vincent Price, an Edward Scissorhands. There's a Xenomorph Queen. I saw Nosferatu and Jason, the creature from the Black Lagoon. There's like a demon who's like a bigger woman, and Beasto like pushes her out of the way, like out of the way, lord ass. And I'm like, damn, Beasto, what would Captain Spaulding say?
yeah, and so this is when Beasto heads over to, I guess, his old buddies.
No, so this is where he meets up with Susie X now. You were right. The old buddies come like later on in the movie. So they're now running away with the head of the Führer, and they're surrounded by the Nazis. And Susie and Murray pretty much have it under control. But what's it called? Beasto needs her help to get Velvet Von Black.
Yeah, Beasto's like, oh, I know this guy. He's the tramp. And which I'm like, that's pretty good. That's pretty funny. He thinks it's Charlie Chaplin's head in the jar.
He's
Which
like, this guy's hilarious.
you gotta fucking not, Hitler ruined an entire mustache for the rest of the world.
Oh yeah, the
The
only one
only
with enough.
other person in the world that can have that mustache and get away with it was damn Charlie Chaplin. Because if anyone, even like today, if somebody wanted, like, I want the Charles Chaplin mustache forever. Why you got the Hitler mustache? And it's like, motherfucker, I'm trying to do the Charlie Chaplin mustache. Yeah,
Yeah,
Hitler ruined fucking mustache for the entire world.
yeah,
Among other
the
things they
whole
did.
thing. Among many other things. No, I'm trying to remember what I was thinking of with that, because you had a good point with the fucking. The only other person who could get away with it nowadays is fucking J. Jonah Jameson, and he's not even real.
Oh yeah.
Because he was just straight up meant to look like Hitler anyway. They're like, we need an asshole. Like, we got to make him look unlikable. But anyway, so he asks fucking Susie for his help. Um, and what's it called? We have this great laundry list, probably the best pussy monologue since From Dusk Till Dawn, where she's like, is this about pussy, poontang, tool shed, cockpit, love box? I fucking listed them all out just because it's quite. They have them pop up on screen. It's almost like a sing along. Bearded Ham, Nipsey Russell. Fish
Yeah, Steve Russell is like, what?
like, where we go with that? And then my personal favorite, vertical bacon sandwich.
So she throws the head back to all the Nazi zombies, and he's like, "Oh, mein Führer."
Rob Paulson again. Yeah, you give us the head of the Führer.
Yeah, and, he opens his mouth. He's got a little bomb in there. He's like, "Oh, that's a weird breath mint," and then boom, blows them all up.
Yeah, before she throws it back to, she's like, "All right, you shitler youth." I thought that was a good line, and Beasto's like, "Here's your pickled Führer."
Yeah, here's your pickled Führer.
And then we get another, we're right back to the elevator gag because Otto brings Velvet in. And this time around, it really reminds me of like the nothing conversations that you have on like a slow day at work sometimes. Where,
So how about them gas prices? Not that I have anywhere to go. And then
yeah,
she
like,
starts. He's like, "Oh, speaking of gas prices," and she's like, "I ain't gonna apologize for it. You know it smell good."
so fucking gross. He's like, "Oh, delicious, the plowman's lunch." And they're going down and down and down into this lair. And I love this gag in cartoons that's like they have lights saying stuff where it's like, who would even be reading this other than the audience?
Yeah, he's like, if you lived here, you'd be home by now.
Yeah. It reminded me of like Spaceballs. Like, if you could read this, you don't need glasses. But they make it in there. And is this where Dr. Satan's jacking off?
This is the funniest jack off scene ever. Cause like every stroke is a squeak toy.
Yeah. And he has this nice music playing. Like, he has to make it like all romantic for himself. He has to turn down the fucking dimmers.
His facial expressions are quite hilarious.
And then what the fuck? Like, I'm sorry, but he's like, oh, that moment is ruined because fucking Otto comes in and tells him, that Velvet Von Black's there. But I mean, I get what he means. But if it were me there, I'd be like, listen, just give me 5 more minutes. Like, just out of sheer spite, I would be like, fuck this. We've come this far. I gotta finish. Otto, give me 15 more minutes, please.
I'm already here.
Yeah, come
And
on. I got the music playing, man. You're not gonna stop me. But what's it called? Before we even got to the jack off scene, I just saw it in my notes. Such a fucking funny line. Um, they bring Velvet into her room, which by the way looks like a giant testicle of sorts. Like his lair just looks like different veins and organs and very hellish, of course. Um, but he's like, make yourself comfortable. Wait, actually don't do that. I'm afraid of what that might entail.
yeah,
And he tells her to stay coherent, remain coherent, and she's like, "What did you just call me? You're the one that's all fucking coherent and shit."
yeah. And I like that she's actually into the idea of marrying Dr. Satan, and it's not some damsel in distress kind of bullshit.
Yeah, if only just for the money and just for getting half of the lair. Like, she's not completely kidnapped. Like, the moment she gets there, she's like, "Oh, they better have a fucking mini bar." And she's like, "Ooh, flat screen." Like, she immediately makes herself comfortable with the idea.
Yeah, she's like, "Ooh, flat screen, better be plasma." I'm like, "Damn, that's a dated ass reference."
Right, right. And then she's always talking about what is it, her friends Tanisha and I think the other one was like Shaniqua. She's just trying to make them jealous. We never see them, but she's always talking about them and talking
Yeah,
to them.
she's like, "Tanisha, you're gonna have to redo my weave."
Yeah, because they took her through the graveyard, which is going to be a later on scene. Um, but yeah, so she's just there drinking, making herself comfortable, and Velvet, not Velvet, Susie needs to go back to the bar to get information on where the ape went. So this is where the three from hell are. They showed up during the Velvet Von Black scene when El Superbeasto gets knocked over. He sort of knocks them out of their chair. Um, and I just noticed that baby was sitting with them, but since Sherry's already voicing Susie, she doesn't get like any particular lines. She's just sort of drawn in the art style. But here we actually get speaking lines from Otis and Captain Spaulding.
Yeah, she beats the shit out of Captain Spaulding.
Well, yeah, because he was just fucking feeling up on her out of nowhere. He was getting ready for official clown business. So it's definitely just a nod to like, hey, you know them, you love them. Like they're gonna say their classic lines. Otis gets a more creative line because what's it called? He's hitting on some girl at the door, and she's like, "Why don't you make yourself useful and get me some beer nuts?" And he's like grabbing his joint. He's grabbing his groin, like, "I got your nuts right here. You want to salt them?"
Yeah.
But then he gets his ass knocked over because Susie busts in through the door. And I love that, while all this bloodshed is happening, you just have Smitten Murray kind of like, hey, you see that girl doing all the killing? That's my girlfriend.
Yeah. Yeah, she's fucking that place up, and she gets the xenomorph, the little chest burster.
Yeah, it's like a mafioso xenomorph.
Yeah, and he's not giving her any information, and she's like, "I'm gonna count to three, and I'm gonna blow your brains all over the place." And she's like, "Uno, dos." He's like, "I bet you can't even count to three." And she says three. No, I mean trays.
And he's like, go ahead anyway. I don't want to live. But then I love this. He's like, all right, fine. Dr. Satan. And she still just blows his head off.
Yeah, she blows out. All right, we got a name and an address. I'm like, where'd you get an address?
Right? She has mind powers now. She did it with her missing
Just
eye.
everybody knows where Dr. Satan lives.
Right. He makes it so fucking so known. I almost kind of want like how they did Chasing Dogma with Jay and Silent Bob, that comic book where it was in between movies. I almost want to see how the Firefly family got into that cartoon bar.
Yeah.
Like where in this when they were on the run, is this where like after they got shot, maybe they died and showed up here for a second and then showed up in Three from Hell? This is what they saw when they were shot up.
Yeah, because it's like, I think they're there just to be there because it's Rob Zombie shit.
Well, yeah, that's at the end of the day what it is it's just reference for reference sake. But you know me, I like to overthink it, where it's like let's really think about like where they were.
Because at the time, yeah, they're dead. They're dead at the time, based on the ending of Devil's Rejects. And But Rob Zombie had been wanting to make Three from Hell for a really long time, so I'm sure that Rob Zombie probably didn't have that as the full ending anyway. So maybe they're not dead, but then Banjo and Sullivan show up. You know,
He kills them again. Maybe this is just a fever dream. Maybe they'll wake up in the same white room with Lori. I'm almost surprised there was none of that shit in this movie, like in the background. No white horse anything, which is good. We got the one Michael thing just to be like that we're not referencing any of this.
yeah, this is it. Rob Zombie is running over the franchise. They think Halloween 2 killed the franchise. No, El Superbeasto did when he ran Michael down with his car.
That's why there's not a third one because El Superbeasto killed him. But I do want the Devil's Beasto. Give me a prequel or interquel comic where they're showing up in the. Maybe they do show up in the comics. We both haven't read them, so maybe that's something I'll dive into as we continue this retrospective. Because I was expecting it to be more like the movie, but like I mentioned, the art style is completely different. It's definitely more superhero-y, where this is more like, of a Nickelodeon.
Yes, I've never seen the art style of the comic book.
Yeah, they look a little bit more, I guess I want to say realistic for lack of a better term. Like it's definitely not as exaggerated. It's what you would expect from like a comic book. Like Beasto almost kind of has like a body like the Thing from Fantastic Four. When you look at him, like he's very bulky. Or, you could say Bane from Batman.
I'm gonna look this up real quick.
You could definitely see like who each character is supposed to be. Like they're still all in the same costumes and stuff like that, but it's not as like blobby and cartoony. Not Red and Stimpy-ized. It's kind of like comparing the original Teen Titans show to Teen Titans Go in a way. Like you have the more cutesy version and then the more like serious version. Even though nothing in this is serious.
Huh.
Right, it's not what I was expecting. Like, I thought the comic was just going to be like a one-time graphic novel thing, but it looks like something that had like ongoing issues for a little bit. I could be wrong.
I
Uh,
actually really like the art style on the comic.
doesn't it kind of like, as much as I love this movie, it does kind of make you wish, like, maybe they should have done something more like a DC animated.
Yeah, it does look slightly more interesting.
So maybe it was like a time constraint, maybe it was a budget thing, or maybe it was purposefully like Rob Zombie wanting to do something different between mediums, which I could respect. But yeah, if anybody knows anything like about the El Superbeasto comics, anything significant, any cool storylines in there, because I don't know if they adapt this storyline in there. I wonder if the movie is just like a straight up original thing. Because Tom Papa helped with the script. This was written and directed by Rob Zombie, but I'm if I believe so, like the first time, like it's not just him solo credited for writing.
Yeah, because Tom Papa and Rob Zombie wrote the script together.
You can kind of see like he kind of threw in his comedy stylings, which I'm kind of with you. I don't know much about Tom Papa. I remember seeing him on Joe Rogan's podcast like a couple of years ago, and he's a name that I hear other comedians mention. Um, but aside from his role as El Superbeasto, I don't really know much about him.
Yeah. So is this where Beasto meets up with his old buddies? Because Susie's done gone to the bar, got the info.
Yeah, let me just.
Like I say, this one's just hard to remember, man. Because
It's hard to keep track just because it's a mile a minute.
yeah, it's a mile a minute, and then it just slows the fuck down.
This is
Uh,
where we're reaching that middle point. Um, I know that he calls Susie and fucking Susie smacks him through the phone where she's like, I knew this was about pussy, but I think you're right. I think he meets his boys. This is the Danny Trejo cameo.
yeah, and they shoot up the car first, and
They got a big bulldog.
yeah, and
Big,
I guess I don't know who this other big lucha mask wearing guy is. Rodriguez. Rodriguez hasn't slept for months.
yeah,
And,
Rodriguez is a very sensitive soul because later in the movie, he has the handbook and he's like, you fucking idiot. And he's like, ugh. He,
yeah,
he's the teddy bear of the family.
and then just like, oh, you gotta do one thing, you gotta show us you're still with us. And they're playing Twister, which I
It's
get the gag.
not the best gag in the movie.
Yeah, like I get the gag, but it's like really like uh
And then there's
both
another
Journey
gag
did
after that
better.
where he's like, "Bring it in, guys," and they all start hugging, and he's like, "All right, don't need to get gay here." And I'm like, "All right, yeah, the movie didn't really need that."
Yeah, this movie throws in like a lot of gay jokes, like oh that's gay kind of stuff. When it's like, yeah, that was still a thing toward the end of the 2000s. We haven't we're almost around 2014 where people started to
Cool it with
frown,
that shit a little bit.
yeah, started to frown upon that kind of humor a
Like
little more.
if it's funny, it's funny, but that's the thing. It's like the line just wasn't. It was just kind of a way to end the scene, and just
Yeah, it's
that
like
at the time, it's just kind of like a
it's
joke you would
only
see.
meant to be funny because it's gay, I guess. It's yeah, a bunch of big burly dudes hugging. Oh man, let's don't make this gay.
And I mean the whole scene was kind of built on that too, because they're playing Twister, and it's like you thought they were fucking each other. Haha.
Yeah, yeah.
You thinking about? Which in this movie, it's not even a gay thing. It's like, can you blame me for thinking they were fucking?
Yeah, because it's again, it's all close-ups, a lot of grunting and shit.
And it's El Super Beasto. This whole movie's been fucking so far. And it's gonna keep being fucking because he goes to the spooky graveyard afterwards, and Susie isn't responding, and fucking he passes by. We see there's almost like a side story that happened with the fucking Bride of Frankenstein because he was talking to her at the bar. Then she shows up on the line when he's leaving, and now she's getting eaten out by the creature from the Black Lagoon in a swamp in a cemetery.
Yeah.
And I think that the creature from the Black Lagoon, Superbeasto calls him Bert. I think he's also voiced by Ken Foree, but I could be wrong. It sounds like it's Ken Foree.
Things like Bert the Spurt. I see that character name.
Maybe he wasn't voiced by Ken then, because I think I remember seeing someone else being credited as Bert the Spurt. Damn, man.
Oh, Bert the Spurt.
He's like, did you monkey come on by through here? He's like, yeah, he went that way. And he gives the bride his card, like, if this doesn't work out, give me a call.
John DiMaggio is Bert the Spurt.
Oh, there you go. So that's who John DiMaggio played. Little cameo from Bender, ladies and gentlemen.
God, so what happens now after the beat up with the Cholos?
So that's the thing. He's going through the spooky cemetery. He passes by Bert the Spurt and the Bride of Frankenstein, and then there's that big red monster at the front of fucking Dr. Satan's castle. Where
who is doing that voice? Because that voice I've heard a million times. I swear that voice is in Rocko's Modern Life, and All Real Monsters, because it very, very much sounds like Mrs. Bighead on Rocko's Modern Life. I don't know. It just sounds like a lot of old Nickelodeon cartoon voices.
Yeah, I don't have the name off the top of my head, but I know exactly. Like, it's a name that you've heard everywhere, especially for more like monster creature characters. And then you expect it to be like this mindless creature, but then they actually just get into a real ass argument where Beasto's going back and forth from the phone. Like, Fred Savage, listen, if Flava Flav can do it, that's all I'm saying is why can't I?
Yeah, and he's like, cell phone people are so rude.
Yeah.
So I have to take this. This is my agent. It's pilot season.
You ruined a very good pilot for me, fuckface. Yeah, because he's like, I want to be a star. But he's almost like a Dr. Loomis, where he's like, I want to be a bigger fucking star.
Yeah.
I forgot if he beats the shit out of this monster. No, they take him captive.
Yeah, so this is where he's locked in the dungeon.
Yeah, before that, we cut to Dr. Satan getting ready for the wedding. He's doing that dance. And I'm sorry, Paul Giamatti is my Dr. Satan after doing this dance. House of a Thousand Corpses fans.
Doing his little dance, and is this also when he shows Otto the 22 frozen ex-wives?
So that comes a little bit after. So I remember the red monster brings in El Superbeasto, and that's where Beasto is like, "Hold the short bus. You're Steve Wachowski."
Yeah.
What a line! Hold the short bus.
Hold the short bus.
But so the big monster beats the shit out of him, and I love Giamatti's line delivery on "Take that, bitch." He's finally getting like his revenge after all the years of bullying. And then we cut back to Velvet Von Black, and there's another 10 out of 10 line. Otto's getting her ready. She's in the bath, and she's like, go pass me some more of that champagne shit.
Yeah. And I'll be ready when I'm fucking ready.
Fucking, there's some monkey love going on because he falls into the damn tub. And what was going on with Bert the Spurt starts going on with him and Velvet. And there's another line.
Yeah, some mouthwash.
Reminds me of Bulgewater from the River Thames.
Yeah. Jesus.
Everything has to be like a proper British metaphor. He's like, your language is offending my Wellingtonian sensibilities. But there's another throwaway line where, she's talking to him about like falling into the bath and stuff like that. And he was like, "It was a mistake, like casting George Lazenby as 007." And
Yeah,
I,
that's a weird throwaway line because it's like, who the fuck gives a shit anymore? You know?
and I agree with
How old is the Majesty's Secret Service or whatever the fuck?
I think that was from like '68. So yeah, it is such like that's what makes it funny to me though, is that it's like that's what he's thinking about in this moment. And I'm with the Velvet where I'm like, mistake my ass. Lazenby was the man.
He's the only one and done Bond, isn't he?
That's what I'm saying. That's what makes him the man. And he's Australian. He's the one non-British Bond too.
But so was classic old Sean Connery.
Oh, right. Yeah, Irish. Scottish, actually.
Scotsman. He's a Scotsman.
So the role they actually had to change his backstory. I think Ian Fleming in the later books was like, "Oh yeah, his family might be from Scotland." You know.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, as long as he's fighting for England now, it doesn't matter where he's from. But we're in the dungeon now, the basement, if you will. And
I
he's
love
like,
this bit with why? And the dude interrupts him, and he's like, "Oh, he's messed it up. We gotta redo it." And they're like, "Da da da," scene, and he's like sitting there, line, why? Oh yeah. Why? It drags on, but it is pretty funny.
and it is fun to see them fumble with the damn slate as they go into the next take. It's funny when animated projects do that because it's like you don't have to deal with that. And there's more Rob Paulsen glory because he plays the dude with the really huge nuts hanging from the wall.
Yeah, and this shit kind of drags too, where him and that guy are just talking about nothing in this dungeon.
Yeah, the movie only picks back up when fucking Uncle Carl shows up with the rats flying out of his ass.
And
Oh,
I guess
Carl.
Lisa's afraid of rats.
Yeah, he starts spraying the rats out of his ass, and that's another moment that's very Ren and Stimpy-ish, just with the ripples on the dude's ass as they're flying out, as the rats are flying out, because it looks like that animated opening to the Pick of Destiny a little bit.
Yeah,
With the butt flaps.
yeah, like the Fucker Gently music video used that same art style too.
Very not grotesque, but very gross out. But then he breaks out and they go into the sewer, and I love when he's beating the shit out of that one sewer monster and he breaks it open and there's just a Japanese actor operating it inside like it's Toho.
Yeah.
That was a great visual gag. So this is what I mean where it starts to pick up a little bit more. Not that it's like action is happening again, but it's like the humor gets a little sharp again. And this is also, I mentioned it before. You notice there hasn't really been a musical number in a while. I feel like this is where the writing was really like, oh, we do have to start wrapping this up a little bit.
Yeah.
But this is where we see the wives.
Huh?
This is where we see the wives, but you were saying? My bad.
Yeah, it drags like a motherfucker right before this point, and still drags a little bit after this. But yeah, this is where, and it's like there's really no reason for the whole 22 Frozen Wives thing, like at all. Like it's only there for him to break the wedding ring off of the finger.
Yeah, which he could have just killed the previous wife, but it is kind of funny when he's going through basically like 22 wives in carbonite, like he's kept them. And there's one that's a nun, and he's like, philosophical differences. There's one that's literally a nose, just a giant nose on a head.
And then, oh, my dry cleaning.
And then there's one that's just a brain from the film Fiend Without a Face. Like it's just a brain and a spinal cord and eyes.
Yeah.
So I dig it on that, where it's like there's still plenty of references to sink your teeth into, but yeah, it is kind of like a come and go scene. And then there's the line. He enters the fucking room and he's like, "Love is a battlefield. Ah, the wisdom of Benatar." And I'm like, what an ass. I like Pat Benatar, but she is overplayed as fuck, man.
Man, you know.
And I'm kind of like Laurie in the Halloween 2 director's cut. I'm like, love is a battlefield. If I hear that fucking song one more fucking time, you know. Anyway, nothing against Benatar. It's just, man, of course Dr. Satan would be so cliche. As cliche as a giant spiky ball.
Yeah, that was a thing.
The giant spiky ball, how cliche.
So you done already forgot about that, and that was way at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah. That was when she, like, there's that classic image of all the dominoes falling and then he takes the head. Very Indiana Jonesy.
God. So
This is where we cut back with Susie and Murray, and the Nazis have returned. I like that the Rob Paulson Nazi is being like led around on just a giant pike through his eye.
yeah,
And they
it's his head now.
and they do another what's it called? List off thing where
Yeah.
she's like
I see zombies standing at the wall now.
yeah, they bring that back and she's listing off like Nazi pricks, goddamn Nazis, fucking Nazis. And I'm like, you forgot to mention Nazi punks fuck off. Very
Yeah.
important. And I think this is a great kind of who's on first bit where they're like the second coming of the Third Reich, and she's like, wouldn't this technically be the first coming of the Fourth Reich?
Yeah, well, you know she's technically right.
And he's like, no, don't come back. Rise, my army of the Third Reich or Fourth Reich, depending on how you want to count it.
Yeah, what happens after that? This movie, man.
Sorry, I hope you guys are bearing with us. If
I
you know
know.
the movie, there's a
This,
lot of ass kicking that happens in between.
there's just not a whole lot to talk about in this movie.
Yeah, I guess why I like it so much is just the experience of putting it on. Like you said, the hangout scene, the visuals, the colors. But in the plot department, it's definitely not good for our typical format, where we're going off the plot because it's not plot heavy. Um, what's it called? We cut back to Dr. Satan and Velvet Von Black. And there's another great line where he's like, I've got to be honest, I've grown quite smitten with you. And she's sitting there just being repulsive. She's drinking, she's burping, and she's like, yeah, me too. You got some nice digs, though. I ain't gonna front.
Yeah. Yeah, just wait till Tanisha and so come over. They're gonna be so jealous.
And so he's ready. He's like, Otto, the ring. And fucking, what's it called? He's still sawing it off like they didn't have it ready.
Yeah, he's like, how long is this going to be? He's like, how do you just take me to saw off a frozen finger off of a dead corpse?
And she's like, hell yeah. And he's like, I'm willing to give you half of this if you'll be my bride.
Yeah, you even hear a chainsaw in the background.
Yeah. And he even has to like rip off the damn. We get that QVC shot again where the ring is in his hand with the finger.
Yeah, and it's like $7.99.
Yeah. I got it from a Cracker Jacks box.
But then they do that QVC bit again when she's looking at it, and it's marked down to 99 cents.
I didn't even notice that one. That's pretty funny. And then what's it called? They start arguing, Dr. Satan and Otto, and this is where they kind of allude to this is going to go down a Carrie direction because Otto's like, they're all going to laugh at you. And I love how Dr. Satan's just like, fuck you and your shrimp boat. We'll do it my way.
Yeah, he goes in there, and she's still getting ready, and they have a little argument, and he gets this gun, and it's funny. It's like kill, maim, and shut a bitch up.
I'm getting half, bitch, half. But then, yeah, she's being mean before the wedding. He's like, honey, your tone is distressing. And she's like, are you going to act a fool? And it's straight up out of The Godfather, just how he fucking shoots her. Even to the point where he grabs the gun from behind the damn bathroom thing that just happens to be in the room for some reason.
Yeah.
And they do the whole slow motion thing. They play the music from The Godfather. Um, but Beasto and Susie are sneaking their way into the wedding. They've snuck their way into Steve Wachowski's family, and they have that other throwaway line where one of the family members are you with the bride or the boobs?
Yeah. Yeah, so they're like under. He's like, take this frozen bitch to the altar. And yeah, he gets to the altar and she's back to normal. But Susie and Beasto are under the stage, and he's got to pull the string before the I do's. And she's like, what about that one time you didn't show up for this? When I was fighting those no whatever from Mars. I can't even remember what the fuck she said.
There was one about fighting the vampire women and he overslept. And there's very much like with these cutaway gags, again, kind of like a Billy and Mandy-ish, just kind of tone to it. I wonder if these adventures were expanded on in the comics, because I would love to see more of these capers with Susie and Beasto. But basically she finds out, she's like, I knew this was about pussy. And there's that really fucking gross throwaway part. Like, this was unnecessary in the movie, but I guess it's funny, where he goes up Susie's ass and he's like, ew, Susie, incest, gross.
He's like, oh, incest.
And he's doing the little vomit motion, but she's twisting his nipple about, hey, I knew this was about pussy. Pussy.
He's like, maybe at first, and then not, and then again. But yeah, so
we got another original Hard and Firm track, which I really like this one. See, maybe that's what it is, why it drags, is you kind of need those song numbers to keep
this one's great because they finally pull the string after the I do's, and the pig's blood comes down, drenches him, and the bucket knocks her out, and it's like, ooh, why'd you have to rip off Carrie?
There's a little animated cameo from PJ Souls and John Travolta laughing in the audience before they killed.
Yeah. And I like the line where it's like, ever since the movie started, this part's the most retarded.
Yeah. Ooh, why'd you have to rip off Carrie? And he's growing into the giant transmogrified Dr. Satan, which I love the design of that one, but everybody's dying all around. They're doing the lyrics about evil with the split screen.
Yeah. And
I guess it's almost fitting that they would have an animated PJ Souls, because she was also in The Devil's Rejects. Spalding knocks her out, takes her car, scares her kid.
Yeah.
Satan.
Like clowns.
Some top secret.
Don't you like clowns? Aren't we fucking funny?
You best come up with a reason.
But yeah, so he grows, and then for some reason grabs Susie. Yeah, he grabs Susie because he's like, you were always the one that I wanted, the prom queen, da da da, and finally I have you. And because there was like a flashback where like he sang a song to her when she was a cheerleader, and Beasto comes over. He's like, nice song, nerd, and like throws him, and he gets a giant wedgie on the flagpole.
Yeah, he has that whole Love Muffin song. And then we have this Benny Hill montage of absolute like chaos, death, and destruction, including
with the Ecky Sex song from Boots Randolph.
Yeah. And it includes the official death of Santa Claus.
Yeah, that was funny as fuck when he's like, Santa Claus is dead. And you got the little elf flipping the damn camera off and flashing the camera. He's like, yo, stop that back there. He starts talking back again, and then they do it again.
And you see Santa get like ripped in half. He's like, "Oh dear God!"
Yeah.
That was almost like something you'd see out of like Robot Chicken or something like that. It's so out of nowhere. Um, but then they're at the top of a building, so you do almost have like Dr. Satan becomes the King Kong. He carries the woman all the way up to the top of the building, and it just becomes like this date. He has like this blind monster playing the organ as they're just sitting there, and he's getting this nasty toe jam in her face.
Yeah. Ugh.
Nasty toe jam, nasty breath stink. And he's singing the song again from when they were in high school because he's basically just playing around with her. There's that really disgusting part where he's like licking his big old nipple and like rubbing her face in it.
Yeah. That
So,
was pretty gross.
but then fucking Velvet Von Black is with El Superbeasto now. They're all traveling downtown together because she's basically like, you fucking two-timing asshole.
Yeah, he's like, how you gonna get that bitch? When, right after we just got married.
She's like, put the hoe down. And I love how fucking there's that one pause after Velvet's like, I'm calling you a stank ass hoe. And there's just that one frame of Susie just looking down, really shocked.
Yeah, she's like, who you calling a hoe, bitch?
And then she's like, put me down. And even fucking roided up Dr. Satan, like just a heel to the fucking. It's because he's still a wimp, right? So, like, he puts her down anyway.
Yeah, she like starts stabbing his hand with the heel of her boot, and he puts her down. And we got another great hard and firm song with the cat fight. This is another favorite song on here.
She's literally using like her ability to like punch Susie in the face.
Yeah, they're beating each other up. And this
Everyone's
is
gathered
a
around watching.
filler moment, pretty much.
Yeah, if it wasn't for the song, like it would just be. This is where it would just be kind of gratuitous.
Yeah, and the song's hilarious because it jumps into different styles. It's like got the cat fight, and but then you get the different animation style, and it's like it's okay to jerk off the cartoons.
Yeah, you have this all American country jam mixed with again another one of these like show tuney kind of songs. But eventually, fucking, I love when Susie's winning the fight, smashing Velvet's face, and it's like cat fight, cat fight, cat fight, cat fight.
Yeah, they say cat fight with every hit.
Um, but so Velvet gets her ass beat and then stepped on because she's like, I still got that prenup, and then fucking null and void.
Yeah, so he stomps on her, and then he starts shrinking, and they're like, "What's going on?" And it's funny because he's like, "Yeah, you know, he has to step on the bride with his cloven hoof." But then it becomes like stupid specific, like during a crescent moon, and it shows the moon. He's like, "What's up?" And then like during a albino whatever was
During
it
a
Barry
Barry Manilow show.
Yeah, and then something else that's like stupid specific. Like all this stuff has to be happening at the exact same time, and it just so happens to be.
And kind of a dated but kind of not so dated line where he's like, I can't believe you, as in my writers, came up with that. And you literally see Shakespeare with the picket sign, and it's like, strike's over, Shakespeare, get back to work. And it's like, well, give it a couple more years.
Yeah, because the writer's strike then, but watching it today, I was like, oh yeah, we just had one of the longest strikes that I've ever witnessed.
Yeah, so it's a joke that kind of ebbs and flows with time, I guess.
Yeah, it's timely every couple years, I guess.
Almost like the handbook says, every once in a crescent moon. What's up? But yeah, so
Doctor
that
Satan,
what was that?
now Doctor Satan is little again and wants to punch Beasto and breaks his arm doing so, and he gets another big old wedgie.
And that's it. He completely gets his fucking ass handed to him. Back to the bottom. So much for the greatest Polish wedding ever. That was another throwaway line that I found pretty funny.
Yeah, he gets his ass beat. Teeth are flying everywhere.
Oh, they do that thing where he gets run over by all the fucking cars, and they do like the freeze frame. So there's another Rob Zombieism in there where, right as like the impact happens, and it does like the little freeze
He
frame.
throws him way over there, and then there's like the Nazi zombies come back. What is even happening here?
Yeah, it's just kind of wrapping up all the different things.
Yeah, it's
I
throwing
remember-
a lot of shit at the same time.
I don't even remember if they defeat the Nazi zombies or if they just decide to fuck off after Dr. Satan is defeated, even though they really didn't have anything to do with Dr. Satan.
Yeah, because they're like, run. We need to run. But I did want to mention, Murray. He's got. He designs himself into a car where the little gear shift is his dick.
Yeah. And he's sitting there the whole time kind of squeezing Susie's ass.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. It's like he is perverted, but there is still such like I feel bad for him that whenever he does get it, I'm just kind of happy for him. Especially then we have this kind of where are they now ending where we finally see that like him and Susie are together.
Yeah, so like there's just a lot of endings where we get Daniel Roebuck as the cartoon version of Morris Green.
Yep.
Show talking to Beasto and mentions an album of crank calls, and that bit's pretty funny.
Yeah, and then he's like, I'm working with a band called Loverboy, which he's at making it seem like it's a collaboration project, but then he's just straight up lip syncing to working for the weekend. So in this universe, El Superbeasto is just the frontman to Loverboy.
Yeah, and it's playing the damn song, and it cuts to Susie, and she's getting ready to fuck Murray.
And I thought you'd like this because they have a very Kubrick-inspired room, a Kubrick-inspired bedroom with the damn Clockwork Orange statues of the women in the background.
Yeah, and you know what? I didn't even notice that. Because, like, at this point, I'm ready for a fucking movie to end. I'm just seeing shit. There's just so much shit being thrown so quickly.
Yeah, there's still so much more going on there. It's a standout to me because it's something we mentioned in the last podcast, and then it's something that's not a lot in this movie, but then it's specifically like their lovemaking room is very Kubrick inspired. Like even the hallway that Susie comes out of is very 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Yeah.
And
So
then they
we
have like this Beetlejuice like dick modification where it's like a whole carnival ride.
Yeah, that was kind of funny. She's swinging on it, and but then it shows Velvet Von Black with Otto, and
Yeah, she lives.
Yeah.
So why
And
did he shrink?
They start getting down. She turns his screw so he could be a little more primal during the fucking.
And she's like, "Don't break a bitch."
Yeah.
Yeah, I just thought about that. I know it's cartoon logic, but like, yeah, shouldn't Dr. Satan still be huge then if she's not dead?
Yeah, technically. But
Yeah.
I guess they didn't say that he had to kill her. They just said he had to stomp on her.
Right. Okay. Specifics. Yes, that's the loophole. He just needs to be almost like a Mazel Tov. You know, you have to step on or break the bottle. It's
Yeah.
like the wedding.
Then we get the elevator guy, and we watch some credits roll. This is just, I'm like, oh, are we still going? And then we get the Banjo and Sullivan scene where this Dolly Parton-esque woman introduces them, and we get Dick Soup, the classic Banjo and Sullivan track, Dick Soup. Uh,
And
and
Otis comes in to kill them again. They die
uh,
twice in the Rob Zombie universe.
yeah, Otis like hits one of them with the bat, and he cracks into a bunch of glass, and he shoots the other one full of holes. Uh, then it plays Banjo and Sullivan's badass instrumental track from the album. Is I think it's Roy's Ramble.
Mm.
Oh,
As the rats kind of overwhelm the screen. But I do like
yeah,
that as Banjo and Sullivan are playing, you kind of have like almost the Simpsons-esque gag of like all the characters are kind of like done on set. Like some of them are grabbing drinks. There's the one Japanese guy taking pictures. There's the exterminator killing the bats.
yeah,
Kind of packing up their things and getting ready to go.
yeah. It's like oh my god, and uh, it just keeps going, and then the rats are just overwhelming the screen. And then, yeah, after credits bit, doing some zombie village people shit.
And that's another thing where it's like kind of like, oh, the joke is he doesn't want to be gay. He's like, I'm not no fucking cowboy.
Yeah, and it's like, a chap should be illegal or something.
And then the last official line of the movie is just bitch.
Yeah. Eh.
I will agree with you that it's like the first half of the movie is a lot stronger than the second half. And there is definitely some nostalgia playing into this, but I still do very much have a soft spot just that this movie fucking exists, that he was able to get it made,
Mm-hmm.
that it wasn't completely shot down by studios just because of the nature of what it is. It's
Yeah.
definitely something you got to explain a little bit to people when you're like, why do you like this movie so much? And I think it's just like I said, the overflow of just creativity that's going on here and just the dumb fun that it is. And, not having to worry about the dirtiness of it either. Like Rob Zombie just being very shameless in, I want to make like a filthy cartoon.
Yeah. Because I like the movie a lot, but it's one that,
It's kind of one note,
huh?
kind of one note at times. Like I'll admit it.
Yeah, it's like I like it, but then I watch it again and I'm like, oh yeah, like here's the stuff I like, but damn, there's a lot of just
A
kind
lot of
of
filler. Like it could have been a 30-minute pilot and then maybe in like shorter doses as episodes. These could have been like episodes. Um, and Rob Zombie even says he would love to do more animated projects. And I think he's aware of like the faults of this movie where he said if he were to take on an animated project again, let me see if I can find the exact quote. He said he would do something with a more concise game plan than El Superbeasto so it could quote make more sense.
yeah. Um,
But I kind of
but
like the nonsensical nature of it because this is probably the closest like adaptation of like Rob Zombie's music to the screen, if that makes any sense. You know, like just
yeah,
mindless action. I don't want to use the word mindless, but in a way, it's like you don't have to think too deep about it when you're listening to a Rob Zombie album. You know what I mean? Whereas with like other industrial artists of the time, say like a Marilyn Manson, ooh, these lyrics are really deep. I really want you to think about them. Rob Zombie never really came off of that guy where it's like, I want you to think about it. He's like, I just want you to conjure up imagery in your mind while you listen to it.
yeah, that's what I like about Rob Zombie's lyrics is they're just real, they're real visual. Like you can see what he's saying real easy, and his music's real easy to digest. Like you're not supposed to think too crazy, or there's nothing real profound he's saying. It's all songs about monsters and fucked up people.
And I think there's kind of like a double-edged sword.
Movies.
What was that?
I said he has songs based on movies and shit.
Yeah, right. And I think there is sort of a double-edged sword because, like, I wouldn't say this movie made like a ton of money. It being a direct-to-video thing, that wasn't really a problem. But in many ways, this could be an open door to more animated projects. But also at the same, excuse me, at the same time, I don't know because it's
Yeah,
already
it's
been
just
a good couple of years.
It's his first foray into comedy, like straight up comedy. Uh,
I think that's what threw off people too, is while like his other movies had like jokes and were funny, like, you know, obviously it's not his main genre, and his stylings of humor is not for everybody. But I could definitely appreciate it for the oddity that it is. Sometimes I like just hearing somebody else's sound, what tickles somebody else, because it's not even like he was going out of his way to write a comedy to appeal to the masses. It is full of stuff that you can almost say are like in jokes and stuff that he personally enjoys. And I think Tom Papa definitely, like, through his stylings in with El Superbeasto, just the character, and probably fed off of what Rob Zombie was trying to do as well. Tried to probably help him out with bringing his comedy more to a digestible thing. So I don't know. It's an interesting experiment. I thought it was very fascinating when he compared it to House of a Thousand Corpses, because when he made that connection, it is kind of like what I said at the beginning of this retrospective. People like to see an experiment. I like to see an experiment, so I definitely get a kick out of this movie just in that.
yeah, it's definitely a fun little no brain kind of movie. It's it's nowhere near a favorite of mine out of Rob Zombie movies. But I like it a lot. But at the same time, man, it gets boring. It drags. A lot of the jokes don't land. But then if one joke doesn't land, there's about three or four that do. But
Yeah,
then, like I
that's good.
said, there's a period where it just drags, and then I'm kind of just ready for the movie to be over, and it keeps going. Whereas some of his other movies, I've seen House of Thousand Corpses a million times, and I never get tired of it. It's a little wonky, man, and
One of the first Rob Zombie movies where the climaxes aren't strong.
yeah. But it's just everybody having fun. Fuck it, let's do a little cartoon movie, and um, yeah, it's got a nice little strong cult following. Uh,
And it's because
but
the good stuff in the movie is really good. Like the memorable gags and songs, like they do get stuck in your head. Like I said, there are a couple lines in this movie that are kind of like rent free in my mind. So it definitely has staying power. That's why I don't want to completely be like, oh, it's not that great. But I also do want to be realistic where, again, very much right. The latter half really starts to fall off a little bit with the occasional gags showing up. Um, and yeah, it's just kind of a bummer we haven't seen any more animated stuff from Rob Zombie, but maybe with the Munsters kind of carving a new path for him, who knows?
yeah, I don't know what. I know right now he said he doesn't want to fuck with a movie for a while because he spent about 5 years working on the Munsters, and
Yeah, and he's getting older and he wants to chill out a little bit more.
he's got Riggs back in his band. John Five has left, and so I'm wondering. I'm sure we'll probably get a new Rob Zombie album pretty soon because I'm sure Riggs coming back is bringing a lot of nostalgia for Rob. So we might get another album that sounds real similar to Hellbilly Deluxe
Right,
because
right. And he's been on tour with Alice Cooper, so he's been focusing more on the music recently. And,
yeah.
it's not like he's been completely devoid of animation. Like he's had a couple of animated music videos in the past couple of years. There was the Shake Your Ass, Smoke Your Grass, which had a, like, not amazing animation, but still animation.
Yeah, and it hasn't been since Hillbilly, no, Sinister Urge, I think was the last one that Riggs played on. So we'll probably get another album before another movie. Because normally he kind of follows like an album movie kind of thing.
Right. Yeah. The music comes out first as almost like a promotion for the movie, but they're also two separate things. It's just kind of how he likes to operate.
And this one too, I noticed Tyler Bates does the music again. It's like Tyler Bates has handled the soundtrack to every Rob Zombie movie from here to Devil's Rejects at this point. Tyler Bates has done a lot of shit. He's produced a handful of Marilyn Manson albums over the last 10 years. Um, but the next one, which I can't wait to fucking get to Lords of Salem, because that one, Rob Zombie let John Five score the music for, and fucking Lords of Salem is one of my favorites.
All right. So now this is where I'm now walking in blind. I don't know anything about the future Rob Zombie movies, and Lords of Salem is one that I'm really excited to check out because it does have a strong following. It's one of he has a title track for it that's kind of like a live staple. He still likes to play it. Um, so I'm very excited to check it out. And we're going back into the realm of live action with this one.
Yeah, like I like this movie a lot, but I'm glad it's over. I'm glad we're. This is a very short episode. This is probably one of our shortest ones.
And it's
Uh,
astounding too that it's one of our shortest ones, and still we're kind of sitting there like, like what happened next? Like it's not even burnout from like recording for multiple hours. It's just literally like so much is thrown at you at once.
yeah, it's like what the fuck is going on in this movie? So yeah, I'm glad it's over. I'm glad we're over this hump.
Yeah, at the very
Because to
least,
me,
I'm hoping people could understand like the shit that I enjoy about it. You know what I mean? Because it is something I do go back and watch frequently. Like when you're in the mood to watch it, you're in the mood to watch it. So I don't.
yeah, I don't know if I'll watch it again, to tell you the truth. I watched it about 3 times the first time around because me and Stas watched it. Then I think I watched it with Josh, and then I think I watched it with Zach. And then I hadn't watched it since. And then I bought this one for the podcast. We watched it today, and I'm like, all right, now I have absolutely no other reason to watch it again.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
funny because like I brought up at the beginning of the podcast that I found out about this through Cinemassacre, like to begin with. And there was like one Halloween night. This is when he was still doing shit with like or maybe he is still doing stuff with the Screenwave people, but they did a live stream for Halloween. It was James Rolfe and a couple of Screenwave guys.
Yeah, I
Talk.
don't think he really fucks with the screen wave dudes anymore, which I'm not gonna lie, uh he's better for it.
Yeah, no, it's a good call. And this is what I wanted to get into is during the live stream, they were like, "Oh, send us like Twitter questions. We'll answer them on the stream." And they were talking about Rob Zombie, so I was like, "Hey, I found out about El Superbeasto through James." So I just asked him, "What did you guys think of El Superbeasto?" Because when he brought it up in the Phantom's Creep review, it was more of just like a reference. There was no like what he actually thought of it. And number one, I don't even think James was in the room during the time that my question got answered, but it was kind of like Justin and Kieran, kind of like, yeah, I saw it once, kind of like how you're reacting to it, like probably not going to watch it again. And I'm like, God damn, I
Yeah,
think the
because it's
only
like it's
like
cool. I give it a 7, man. I give it a 7.
that's
Like
fair
it's
enough.
yeah, like it's a pretty low score, but it's a decent score for it. But yeah, like I said, I don't have the drive to watch it again. I'm buying all these Rob Zombie movies, just cause I'm a fan of them anyway. But like, it's one of those where it's like I have it just to have the collection complete.
Yeah, exactly, because he also did this. I think like the other thing that's giving it more of a fair shake and introducing more people to it is do you know the YouTube channel Rebel Taxi who talks about the cartoons?
Yeah,
Yeah, he did a video on El Super Beasto and that one got a good amount of views. And in some of the research I was doing with this review, aside from just watching the movie, you don't see many reviews of this movie on YouTube, of course, just due to the footage. But Rebel Taxi talked about it, and anybody else talking about it were like, "Oh yeah, I found out about this movie because of Rebel Taxi." So that's something that makes me a little happy that people are at least checking it out and watching it, even if they're not watching it again, even if they didn't enjoy it. Like more people are gaining access to it
yeah,
than when it came out.
and it's surprisingly easy to get a hold of. Like I got the Blu-ray on Amazon, like barely $10. So
Yeah, and you can rent it off of YouTube. What surprises me is like when I was looking up stuff about this movie, apparently it had a theatrical release internationally. So in certain theaters outside of America, some people were watching this on the big screen. Fun stuff.
Yes, I can't wait to get to the next one, man.
Alrighty. Basement Dwellers, Dick Lickers. This has been The Haunted World of El Superbeasto. Catch us next time with Lords of Salem, and make sure to keep adding your comments. We want to read them.
Yeah. But we'll see y'all later.
Later.
Later, G.
Keep it real, playa.